Welcome back. It's now early evening. Been sitting reading. I actually fell asleep as well. That's the power of the woods for me. They just make me fall asleep. I love the sounds and the relaxation of them. This little part is about finding the space while camping. This is an old English wood. It's old oak trees, beech trees, things like that. Depending where you are, you might have a pine forest nearby. Woodland camps are one of the first things to do when you're first wild camping. They're ideal. If you go online, you go to the Woodland Trust website. There's an interactive map there that will show you all the public access woods in your area. So click on that, go on there. I think there's a section on the map where you can overlay the OS survey maps on top. When you have a look at the woods, if there's a red fringe around the outside of the woods, there's a train going by. Yeah, if there's a red fringe, there's a red patterning go around the outside of the woods on the Ordnance Survey maps, that means it's an open access woods. That means it's especially public land owned by the Crown or Council. It also means that you can go off the paths legally. Obviously camping officially is still unlawful as long as you don't have a fire. Most people won't bother you. All the times I've never been bothered. Anyways, go into there, look at the maps, study the OS maps, study the Google Maps, see where the paths are in the woods. Have a look while you're there. Look at a space between the paths that's going to be quite large, because that's always a good place to go, because it's going to be away from the public. You can use Google Maps on your phone to find things like that as well. I thoroughly recommend the OS Ordnance Survey app. Subscribe to that. It's about £30 a year. It does give you full access to all the OS survey maps through the app. It's GPS coordinated. You can also download maps for offline use. So if you're going to explore an area you know it's not going to have phone signal, you can download it beforehand. It also comes with walks built into it as well, so you can follow walks around. It's a brilliant app. If you're going to do this on a regular basis for £30 a year, it's really worth it. This spot here, we're in like a middle of the paths. If you look at an overlay of where we are, there's a triangle of paths around us, but we're more or less bang smack in the middle. We found this last year, this spot. You walk around and you can see, if I was panning around, you'll be able to see there's an open area. But we're also in a dip, just this level here. It's actually raised, the actual path is around about that level there, so we're quite well sheltered. See if you can see the incline that's going up there. Unless someone goes exploring off the beaten track, you won't get found in somewhere like this. If you do get found, it's by someone similar to you who's looking for somewhere to camp or explore. As you can see, you come to an area like this, there's quite a few places to choose from for camping. This is my preferred area just here. As you can see, it's quite flat. We've also got tree cover here, there and there, and a huge great bush there, so no one can see anything from behind there. So you're quite well sheltered from the public eye, just in case people do go wandering. When you find a spot like this and you think you want to camp, first thing to do is check out the area we're going to put the tent. Obviously if you practice at home before you come out, make sure you're confident at putting the tent up, because you might have to do it at dusk. It's best to put the tent up just before it gets dark. You also want it nice and flat. If you pitch on an angle, you're going to end up rolling out of bed all night, and it's pretty uncomfortable, and the chances are you're not going to sleep very well. If I walk over here and then turn round, you see it from a different perspective. So the angle shows up a bit better now. The back there, that looked a bit slanted, but this area just there is very flat. It's also quite large. You could put like a 4-man tent there if you wanted to. All this stuff on the ground, it's just loose chippings and tree fells. These are some of the things that were falling earlier. They'll give you the freakouts if you're sitting there quiet. Horse chestnut things. Obviously when you find a space, kick the loose stuff to one side. Keep it in a pile, so in the morning you can actually put it back. So it makes it look as though you've never been here. Hence the saying, leave no trace. You get the idea. Anyways, you clear a space. Advised not to put the tent up until it just gets dark. Just before it gets dark is ideal. Just in case you do get spotted and asked to get moved on. Public access woods though, it's very unlikely to happen because they don't have patrols. The only person you might come across is some old busybody who's interfering, thinking he knows best. If you do get asked to move on by someone official, just pack up and go. Don't argue, because you've got no right to be there legally. So unfortunately you've got no argument. It's just one of them things, you have to move on. Don't light a fire though. A lot of people you see, and you also see fires. Wild camper in England, apart from at Dartmoor, is unlawful. That means you can get moved on. As long as you don't cause a problem, cause a scene, then you're not going to get arrested for it. If you dig a hole and set a fire, and the landowner does come along and finds you, that's then classed as being illegal, and you can get arrested and fined. The reason being is that you don't own them. You don't own those bits of trees that you're burning, and you're not allowed to scorch the ground because you don't own the ground. If you really are adamant about having a fire, you can get little tiny raised platforms for having a fire. So that would be an ideal solution. Or a little bush box burning stove like Mark does sometimes. Obviously there's a lot of old twigs laying around here, so no one's really going to miss them if they are gone. So that's an option if you do really want a fire. Now look at this spot here, this is where the tent's going to be. It's a big old area, nice and flat, get a comfortable night's sleep. Get back to that later. Got the tent set up. I've done it in the light so it can be videoed quite well. Done a time lapse on it. It's a budget tent. Only about 30 quid, £35 I think it is. Combat UK. Ridge tent. Copy of the French army tent. Easy to put up. Loads of room inside. Both the doors fold back. It's got a mesh screen that zips in as well. It's quite aerated. You see they've got the mesh panels at the sides, just all the way along on both sides. Also the bottom is open as well. The door only zips in the middle. I actually added an extra guy onto this to hold the door section out, create a bit more ventilation. Seems to work alright. Loads of room in there. Little sleeping mat and a sleeping bag are in. Loads of room to keep your gear on the side and your clothes and whatever. Gonna start some dinner. Back again, gonna cook some dinner. Back to basics. Pot noodle, nice and easy. There's the little kettle that comes in that cooking system. Perfect little thing. That, combined with that, it boils enough water for a coffee and a pot noodle or something similar to dehydrated milk very fast. Probably less than a minute if you want it to. Going to combine the pot noodle. Got some pepperami there. Also got too many blocks of cheese. Plenty of food. Little dessert. Got some sweets for later as well. Hot chocolate for later tonight. Cooked breakfast tomorrow. Bacon, sausage and beans. There's the pan. That's the lid of the cooking system. It's the frying pan. With the little handles built in the back. And you've got a decent sized pot there for cooking one pot meals as well with a lid. Kettle goes inside there, and obviously it all goes together. As I said, it's ideal for, it'll do a lot of camping, and it's cheap. I think it's about 15 quid I think I paid. There's plenty to choose from on eBay that are similar. It's a perfect system really. Enough water for a pot noodle. It's a bit of an inferno if you want it to be. I don't tend to use it like that, just a bit noisy. That's sufficient. This cook system is as good as the one at home, just a normal gas burner at home. It's really that good. I'll get on and eat this and we'll come back to a little bit later. Had the dinner. This is what you can hear in the background. That's the deer. That's a deer barking to its mate. Sometimes that can go on all night. And if you're going for the woodlands for the first time, it can freak you right out as well. It's quite close. Foxes make similar noises as well, but it's slightly higher pitch. That's why we love the woods. I've substituted the pot noodle as a rubbish bin because I've run out. Forgot to pick one up. I'm going to use like a little bin bag. We're going to be sitting here and enjoying the ambulance and have a hot chocolate tonight. Listen to the deer, rest of the animals. Just like sitting in the silence, listening to the woods. Had some owl calls a little while ago. We'll get back to it. If you go to the woods and you hear that for the first time, now you know what it is. It's pretty freaky, but it's not gonna come near you, and it won't do you any harm. Hot chocolate and rum on the go. There's been some animals moving around just on the perimeter of the camp. You can hear them walking around. I think they're deer because they sound quite heavy-footed. Maybe foxes. Going to get this drunk and then climb into, pack up and get into the sleeping bag. Having a bit of an early night. Been on long days this week, so nice opportunity to get to bed early. Get plenty of rest. It's very mild tonight. I put my little lightweight jacket on to keep the chill off, but it really is very mild for the time of the year. Looking forward to a restful night's sleep. See you in the morning. Good morning. Had a brilliant night's sleep. Went to bed fairly early because been really busy at work this week, so I was up at 4:30 yesterday, so a bit tired, so I went to bed about 9:30. Hot chocolate and rum before going to bed. Had a brilliant night's sleep. I did have my earplugs in though, because the deers were barking quite badly during the night. Stuck the earplugs in, couldn't hear them after that. Slept very soundly. Warm enough as well, even with a cheap sleeping bag, cheap sleeping mat. It's pretty mild. I think the overnight temperatures at the moment are around about 14-15 degrees, so it's comfortable. Comfortable night's sleep. Slept really well. Only woke up a couple of times during the night to roll over a couple of times, and that was about it, I think. Woke up about 5, went back to sleep again, and it's now about 6:30. Blue sky starting to come through the trees. I'm going to get some breakfast on the go. Going to pack the tent up. It's completely dry on the inside, outside should I say. A little bit of condensation on the inside, but not too worried about that. With wild camping, you need to get your stuff packed up quickly. I think the general ethos of wild camping is to set up late, leave and pack up early. That way if you do get spotted, chances are your tent's already gone. You're just somebody in the woods cooking dinner and breakfast. There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't hear anyone after around about 5 o'clock yesterday. Didn't hear anything last night, just heard some animals moving around in the woods. There's some squirrels living in this large tree just here. Been running up and down. They were dropping things on the tent during the night. I can pine nuts and cones and I think. We'll get some breakfast on the go, get this packed up. Not too worried about a little bit of condensation. We can take unpack the tent when we get home and let it dry out naturally. Simple as that. And don't be too anal about packing a wet tent. It's just plasticky fabric. It dries really fast. If you're on a multi-day camp, when you put it up the next night, normally it's dry before you go to bed. As it sits there for a few hours. There wasn't a lot of there's not a lot of breeze coming through here, this section. So you do get a bit of condensation. It's a single layer tent, it's completely normal. Don't worry about it, it's just water. It's not going to do any harm. Let's get some breakfast on the go. Right, the tent's packed up. As you can see, there's no trace of where the tent was. I've kicked back the ground spoils over the patch, so it looks exactly like it was when we found it. If you come here now, you wouldn't even be aware that there was a tent there. We now just look like somebody cooking breakfast in the forest. It's important to leave no trace, so you can come back and enjoy it. Let other people enjoy it. Make sure you take all your rubbish home. It's important. Everything. You carried it into the forest with you, you take it home. No broken tents, broken chairs, everything you take back. There's been a lot of people, I suspect younger people, going out into the wilds. Obviously with the lockdown coronavirus situation, camping's become very popular in the UK this year. People can't go overseas. But they've been leaving crap everywhere. I suspect having parties. There's been a few places where we've turned up and there's beer cans and bottles and all sorts of stuff left behind. Evidence of fires. In the Peak District last week we found a complete tent that looked in perfectly good condition. A trespass pop-up type tent that was just left behind, full of stuff. There's no need for it. Why on earth would you leave a perfectly good tent behind? We didn't open it up to see what was in it. Could have been something nasty, but about 100 metres away from there, in another spot, we found a broken chair. One of those garden type chairs. Why you take one of them out into the wilds, I don't know, but there was one there, half of the arm had fallen off. Instead of carrying it home, they decided just to leave it there. No need for it. Pick up your rubbish. Not just camping, everywhere you go, pick up your rubbish. Don't throw it out the car when you're driving along. We'll try and instill some respect from where you live. I know times are hard, but it doesn't make an excuse to leave rubbish everywhere. One of the biggest ethos of wild camping is leave no trace, and that's important. Leave no trace.